Join with me today is Dulom, and we're going to talk about this conference call that we just had right now, and we're expecting a blog post and what we're talking about today. And I did a video with Dorky Dad, and we're going to do one with you, and there's going to be a lot of talk about this. There's going to be a post about character release cadence, and I'm just going to spit out the general overview, and then you give me your thoughts on it. What was going on with Old Man Logan is a thing. What happened with Captain Britain is a thing. And worstly, everything that we've suspected about the Gladiator and the Annihilator's release is going to be a thing. I mean, you want to give more context what I mean by it's going to be a thing? That's the direction they're going in. That it's deliberate.
Yeah, this is intentional. So remember how the first start of this was Hank, right? Hank was like, after the paid release on July 11th, his free-to-play release wasn't until August 3rd or August 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So people were like, hey, this is different. I'm wondering if this is just deliberate because they want to make sure it's gating Captain Britain a little bit more. Cool, fine, whatever, we'll get back to our normal. No, that is the new normal. So Gladiator now coming free to play, what is it, 33 days later? That's more or less gonna be the normal, at least for some of the characters. That's gonna be the normal. We don't know yet because they're experimenting. That's the essence of what's happening right now.
Yeah, and so they did not want to be locked into any specific details. So in general, what we're talking about here is the feeling that we got from the call. And the reason why I say that is I feel like some of these details, they don't even know. He was just kind of like, saying, well, like, it could be a while before a free-to-play player gets a new character unlocked, and he was throwing general numbers, like 30 days, 60 days, like they don't know, right? But like, yes, that's going to be a thing, and maybe a team will come out and only one of the characters on the team will have an event, right? So, I mean, what they're going to actually do remains to be seen, but what this means to me is that all these new power cores, which is a good thing. There's a lot more power cores inside of the arena, right? Which is a good thing, right? That's a good thing. But
absolutely,
people are going to have to be deliberate on what they want to do with them, because it's going to be based off of randomness, right? Is kind of what I'm getting from this. This is all going to be super random.
Yeah, and it's more of an economy-based game more than ever now because it's going to be random based off of the shard, the orbs that you're getting that they're giving us, right? And right now it's guaranteed one shard, right? But I mean, look at the drop rates. You got a 1.2% chance to get 1/10 of Sentinel, okay? And then to hit the jackpot, does it feel good to hit the jackpot? Absolutely. But my thing is why am I being punished for being a super high engaged player and just getting punished by bad RNG that no one can control, right? There's no good, there's no bad there, but there's nothing that can control it. So that's the issue I have with it is it's pure RNG. So Tommy Two Shoes over there can get 300 shards from it because he got really lucky, and I'm sitting here with 32, don't have the unlock, and I'm still struggling through tech raids for the next 2 months.
Yep.
So it's not, I don't know. I don't like it.
Oh yeah. So I think what they were trying to say was that the total number of shards should be similar as it was in the past, but it's going to feel very differently because it's going to be randomized. Like,
correct.
It's going to be more, the standard deviation is going to get a lot wider. And yes, the total number of shards might be the same or higher. And they threw out some weird charts, and I couldn't buy into any of them, by the way. I just was like, because they didn't have real numbers on them. They had percentages, right? Because they can't give us, industry secrets. But I was looking at it as like, I could make this line chart look good no matter what. Like, you give me fake numbers, I can figure it out. Whatever I'm trying to sell. And so what this means to me is that, if you're lucky, cool. That's it, right?
Literally. Yeah. So it's luck. It's not based on skill. It's not based on, hey, I'm more engaged than you, right? Let's say I'm more engaged than you. Right. You could have 87 more shards than me because you got lucky. It's not because you did well in the events. It's not because you planned well. It's not because you got better rewards in Cosmic Crucible, better rewards in War. It's not because you were a better player. It's because you hit a button better than I did and got good RNG. And like that doesn't feel good at all. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's complete RNG. And that's the number one thing that most of us hate about this game is the RNG. There has to be some, right? Because if not, then it's all the exact same game over and over again. But when it comes to RNG to unlock a character, and that's the only way we can do it for the first however many days, over a month potentially, is really not great.
Yeah. And okay, so something I do want that we got good clarification. There is some good parts to this video.
Yeah,
is this, the shattered dimension thing is, where it was going to be locked behind annihilators, and some people did not have the third annihilator. That was not supposed to happen. That was, and they do not want. Man, that's not true. They because we've been talking about pay to play versus pay to win, right? And that they don't want to do. But we'll talk about Captain Britain here in a second. We'll talk about Old Man Logan here in a second. But talk about Shattered Dimension with Annihilators, and that was a big surprise to me, right? That was not supposed to happen the way it did, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it was pretty much, hey, that was our mess up. Was more or less just encompassed in the explanation that we were given. Hey, we messed up. That wasn't something that was intentional, and it slipped through the cracks. That was not our intent. We don't want to paywall content when it comes to like Shattered Dimension. Now, Legendaries, just like Boomer just said, Old Man Logan, stuff like that is different. But when it comes to like Pocket Dimension, stuff like that, they don't want to paywall content is what they said, which is why that was the accident that Cosmic was supposed to be available for all the nodes originally. But I guess it slipped through the cracks, whatever it might be. Tinfoil hat people are going to say, oh, they're playing 4D chess. The usual kind of thing that everybody's saying that, oh, they were going to do this no matter what. And then they changed it to look better, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I believe what we were told because I've yet to be lied by the gentleman we spoke to.
Yeah,
he's a straight shooter. No, he tells us straight up what's going on.
I actually welcomed the candidness of some of the parts of the conversation, but then I was also going like, oh, this is not good. This is not what I want to hear. And he was telling us anyways, even though it was like not good. And I'm thinking. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to react well to this. You're not going to react well to this. Dorky's not. We were like, this is not. We don't want to hear this. And then the only thing that kind of was like, oh man, are they going to not tell us this stuff? If are they just going to like cut the communication off? So let's talk about Captain Britain. Then we're going to talk about Old Man Logan. So Captain Britain is a thing. They're going to continue doing stuff like Captain Britain. I can't get a sense of how often, but it's not going to be every team. Like, I mean, I don't think they know really, but what's your feeling about that situation in general?
It seems like they understand the negative feedback that went around Captain Britain. They definitely get it. Like they're not just going, oh, whatever, we don't care. Our pockets were lined with money. Like it is a business, but they weren't turning a blind eye to the negative feedback. So the impression I got was it's definitely not going to be a very often thing. I would say at most, my best guess would probably be at most 3 a year. And that would be kind of pushing it. And we don't know. And that's pure speculation. But the good news is I'm presuming it's going to be per game mode, right? So like something like PvP, which is Crucible, which was Captain Britain. And then the next one might be War. We don't know. They haven't told us. But presumably it would be War because that's where people are going to get the biggest benefit against those who don't have it. Yeah. Or it could be whatever other game mode they're coming out with. It could be Battle Royale. I don't know, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it just went over the worst with Captain Britain because Cosmic Crucible is the most loved game mode where the rewards just don't mean anything. The rewards are terrible. Like I just got a season payout and I still can't take Black Knight to 3 diamond. I still need 3,000 more and I placed 226 on the leaderboard and I can't even take Black Knight to 3 diamond. Like those rewards are negligible and they're every 2 months. So we don't play Crucible for the rewards. We play Crucible because it's fun, and I love beating Krakens. I love beating people that are 50, 60 million larger than I am and looking at them and go, I outsmarted you. But it seems to be changing.
Yeah, and so yeah, the feeling that I got too, and they didn't give us any numbers, is that like this Captain Britain situations probably like you said 3. Yeah, I was like 2 to 4 times. I don't know, 2 to 4 teams a year that are gonna be like that. Yep. All right, Old Man Logan, and this is the bad thing. He said something that I know is true, but I did not like it, is that legendaries have been inexpensive.
Yeah.
They have.
Oh
been.
yeah. It's in Scourges. They've been really inexpensive. That's not. Listen, the fact that they're giving away legendaries at 3 stars, 4 stars, whatever it is, it's de-incentivizing people to have to get to that 5-star gate to unlock it. Like with Omega Red, when Omega Red first came out, people were like, dude, this character's nuts. But then you also had to have Nick Fury at 5 stars, Winter Soldier at 5, all these characters. That was when Sharon Carter and all them came out, and you needed them at 5 stars. And yeah, it doesn't make them money. And guess what? They're a business. And was it kind of crappy to hear? Yeah. But do I understand where they're coming from? I do, because we are getting, I mean, look at Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan is the best character, one of the best characters in the game outside of probably Mephisto.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm noticing even more so now, Old Man Logan, especially on offense in Cosmic Crucible, that man is 1v5ing Super Skrull and Annihilators.
Yep.
And in their eyes, we're just being given that character, right?
Yep.
So, and that's what is not good for them, which is why they're trying to find that balance between the Stargate and the not Stargate and the difficulty gate and all that kind of stuff that they're trying to do. But it seems to be that it's a balancing act that they're still trying to figure out, while we're just trying to figure it out as well.
Yeah. Well, the way that I interpreted that conversation was legendaries have been free or too inexpensive, and going forward, that's not their business model.
Correct.
And whether it continues to look like Old Man Logan or worse or different, the intent is still the same. Like they were too inexpensive. And we're gonna wrap it up with this. Like the general feeling, and I think the general feeling I got from the call and the way they worded it, I think it was open to 2 different interpretations. So they were talking about, there's free-to-play players in this game, and there's battle pass players, and then there's people that spend, let's say, dollars a month. Maybe they're like, like they buy battle passes and they buy 1 character offer. And then, of course, there's the extreme people that max everything out day one. So this call was not about those people. Like, it wasn't about the mega Krakens or anything like that. This call was talking about the changes that they made with Annihilators, right? Where it's... the way they worded it is very different than the reality of it. The way they worded it is like, we wanted to add value to the type of players that spend, let's say, $3. We're trying to create systems where it feels good to spend $3. And the way I interpret it is, you're screwing over the free to play and you're screwing over the battle pass players, and you're trying to push those players into spenders. That's the way it felt like.
Yep, I actually disagree with one of the points you said. This call was not revolved around those massive spenders who max out on day one. I think this call was actually kind of fueled by that. I think they're not I think they're not finding the value in the characters that they are getting at 7/7 day one, whatever it is, right? Because someone like me, someone like you at 3/3 can compete with them. So I think that's why they're trying to make that gap a little bit bigger in the beginning, which, honestly, okay, fine.
Yeah.
As long as they keep the same farmability window of, hey, at 4 months, they are 100% farmable, spotlight orbs, raid orbs, war store, whatever it is. And then by 6 months, I have 7 stars.
Right.
That is fine. They need to make sure they're giving value to the people who are keeping the lights on, which I understand. The problem is, it's a fine line to balance before you start alienating people like me who refuse to spend more than what I do on the game right now. I buy passes and that's it. I don't spend more than that, and I will not spend more than that, nor will I ever. I spend on passes, that's it. I feel like I'm trying to be either pushed out or pushed up. And by pushed up, I mean pushed up in my spending habits, or I'm going to feel bad about it.
Yes.
That was the essence of the call that I got.
I agree. I think this goes to the idea of exclusivity windows. Like, and they've done that with diamonds and the leaderboards, which are just auctions. And it's almost like they're trying to implement that with new character releases. Like there's a window of exclusivity. And, I think what they were trying to say is, that it's a net positive over time, but we see it's like, no. There's that window where people don't have anything. That's the way it is, though, right? They're just they're pushing. They did it with bumps, and now they're doing it with like annihilators, right? They're making the initial offers and the access free to play wider.
Correct.
Absolutely wider.
That gap is the problem of someone like me trying to be competitive in Cosmic Crucible. Because what happens when another team like Cabal comes out and they change the meta, just like Iron Patriot did when he first came out? And literally, Iron Patriot being added to MOE ended up deleting a Black Knight Extreme in Room 4 2.5 seasons ago when that had to be sacked, right? I went 0-3 2 weeks in a row because I did not have Iron Patriot. All of my opponents did. So now what I'm kind of being told is I'm going to have that problem for 6 to 8 weeks at a time. That's an entire season of Cosmic Crucible that I am being phased out of. So right when I have that newest piece, what's stopping them from unlocking another Crucible team? And then the next season is the same thing because I don't have that new piece. Or War for the entire War season because only half of our alliance bought the newest War team, whatever it might be, right? Mm-hmm. I'm phased out of War being competitive because of that for that entire War season. Is that okay? Is that acceptable? Maybe that's what they're trying to go for. Have they gone too far and they need to see the data points? Maybe, right? But the problem is we're just testing it as guinea pigs right now. And to be frank, it's a shitty feeling to be a guinea pig.
Yeah.
It really is, especially when we've gone, 50 days almost with no communication about this since we had this whole thing about Hank. Because Hank was, 2 weeks later than normal. And they're telling us, we've never agreed to doing a set time schedule of when a character is going to release free to play. But you set the precedent by not saying anything. By doing the same thing for 6 years, you've set the precedence. You never said it in words, but you don't have to. When you do something for 6 years, which is the length of the game, you don't need to say it out loud for that to be the norm that people are going to expect. And now it's not going to be expected anymore, which a blog will be coming out to kind of temper expectations and potentially piss people off.
All right. 2 things before we wrap it up. One, none of the envoys were thrilled on this call, and I feel like they absolutely heard what we said, whether they listened to us or not. I kind of feel like this is just going forward regardless of what we said. I mean, that's the feeling I got. And then secondly, I talked about this with Dorky. The game is not dying. My numbers are way up.
Nope.
The game is actually growing. And there's a lot of new players coming to the game, and I believe there's a lag on these types of things on the outcome. Like the stuff that they did was positive 6 months to a year ago, where the game is thriving and growing, right? This type of stuff may not be good 6 months from now. Like the game, I feel like there's this monstrous lag. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think the issue is it takes so long to accumulate the data and then also input those changes that it could be 3 or 4 months of us dealing with this really, really bad new system that they're doing until they tweak it to figure it out correctly. I'm just hoping that they look at the data and go, hey, we're way below average. Yeah. Let's throw this at them. Let's throw a free pocket dimension. We're giving 100 shards because we're 100 shards short on 3 different characters. We're giving 35 of each of them, whatever it is. I hope they are not too dense, honestly, to course correct and make sure that they are not really alienating free to play or lower spend. I mean, I say lower spenders, fucking $80 a month, dude.
I know. How is that a low spend?
I feel like I'm like you. I feel like I'm you in the past because you had the same realization on stream. But
what the hell?
$80, dude. It's ridiculous. It's a mobile game. And the only reason I could justify it to myself is because this is my only freaking hobby. And I make content. So the money that I'm making from content goes back into it. That's the only reason I could justify it to myself. And even then it's hard for me. But it's just crazy how much they want to alienate some people because they don't keep the lights on.
Yeah. And the $80 is not enough. It needs to be closer. All right. We haven't read the blog post, and we don't know what they're going to do. They were so non-committal about the details. So,
which is understandable because this community keeps people held grudges for 9 years straight. I mean, look at the Archangel thing. Your alliance sucks. I mean, he still has to live that down. So, to be fair on their end, they can't commit to anything because that's gospel in our eyes. So, I can understand that. It's just it's frustrating. I mean, For Boomer to sit there with his head in his hands
I know.
is something else.
The problem
dude.
is that we're doing a gut shot reaction to the call. It was bad. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Like, and
Yeah.
maybe this plus Reddit and every other YouTube video and players counts. I can't see anybody not having this response other than a very narrow, heavy spender. Anyways, that'll do it for today. Anything you want to say before we go? I think we said it all. Like, I don't think there's. Anyways.
Yep.
All right.
We said it all.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.